I hope you can hear me. This is going to be in an on the go type of video via Dash, of course. Sometimes I have to dash. And it's the end of the day, after work special, Freaky Friday special. What else is new? So it's a little dim, as you can see. It's actually not even, it's almost hitting 5. I left a few minutes early because I started early. So we're gonna do like an audio because I have an article. Okay, I don't have my stand with me. Don't mind my music, guys. But to show you what I'm reading from, because I know you guys like your receipts, so you guys can go find this article for yourself. And the title of it, it's from the New York Times. Can you guys see? New York Times. I just printed this out because when I seen it, I was like, ooh, this is some potent tea right here. This is some potent tea. When women are being under attack by the real Slim Shadys, the real liberal, the real vile, ones, right? Because there's different connotations for the word liberal. But you can be liberal with your love, right? In a good way. I think a lot of words got skewed, right? But a lot of guys who pose as conservative, okay? This is a criminal case, a lawsuit filed against a Marine of the United States, the forces, okay? The armed forces, just for that. So I'm gonna block this for now while I'm on the go because we're all about safety first. And I'm going to keep this phone. I'm going to read just a little bit while I have some light and then we'll hit the road. I'm going to do just a couple of errands because I'm meeting family and I got to do this quick. But I know a lot of guys love to claim conservative just because they voted for Trump. Just because somebody joins a certain team doesn't mean they inherently believe in certain principles. It is a job. It is business. It's not personal. The plebes make it personal. Okay, so you got to look at things like a grown-up, and someone could work in a hospital and not have a healthy lifestyle. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, it's common sense. I know people, too, who went to the military, and they're in horrible shape, and they have bad attitudes, and they're not a good example of any, armed anything, right? But this story here says a lot. And I put up something on my community tab, guys, another article. I want you guys to read it. And I think all these distractions, all these low-level arguments on YouTube is more distractions because a lot of the guys that are pushing a lot of the women hate talk, they are actually gay. They are too cowardly to come out and tell their wives. A lot of the red pill ladies are really secret lesbians and everything else. They have issues and they're in competition with women and they're total frauds if they're even women at all. Some of the female podcasters that are red pill, I want a real birth certificate proving what the F you are, because some of these people are like 6 foot tall with like the longest face and the biggest hands and feet I've ever seen. Okay. And okay, you think so much like a man, then go live like a man. Then if you think you can relate to men so much and you want to be so accepted by men no matter what. And this is very, very psychotic because you usually see stuff like this with people with issues with their fathers. But sometimes a lot of them do have issues and they're too cowardly to express it. So they're very passive aggressive. So they'll have like their weird hobbies on the side where they can, get their energy off. So I'm going to read quickly of this article. A Texas woman, this is a red state too, and a lot of red states, this stuff is happening, which I find it very interesting, that there's been a lot of stories of men spiking women's drinks and causing abortions, okay, against their will. And it goes to show how dating can be so dangerous and you could be sleeping with the enemy. And Your real enemies are the wrong people that you let closest to you. And it shows what happens when people are not intentional and they try to push, hookup culture and not to be in valuable and long lasting traditional relationships. And we see who pays the price for it. So I put up that article and it shows all the states where this was happening, and a lot of red states this was happening. So a Texas woman accused a U.S. Marine in a lawsuit on Monday of lacing her with a Bosch. This is an article from August 14, 2025. If you guys need a reference, I'm all about references, and you guys can look it up. So she was laced with abortion pills, terminating her pregnancy against her wishes. The woman, Liana Davis, 37, claims that Christopher Coprider, 34, a U.S. Marine captain from Arizona, who she says impregnated her, secretly dissolved 10 pills of misoprostol, a drug used in medical abortions, in a hot chocolate he made for her on April 5th. She made the accusation in a civil complaint filed in a federal court in Texas. So the woman is suing the U.S. Marine, alleging he spiked her drink with nearly a dozen abortion pills, killing their unborn child, after she rebuffed his repeated requests to get rid of it. Okay, so it's a wrongful death lawsuit. And his reasoning, this is very eye-opening for women who think it's not that serious and let men try to coerce them into doing things that they're not comfortable with. And he was basically saying how they weren't in love and how it's not fair to bring a kid without two parents, really playing judge and executioner, but he didn't think about that when he wrapped it up. And this is someone, in the military who on the surface, if no one knew his business, would think, oh, he's, fighting for the conservatives for our country. If you look up the word conservative, like what is a conservative, man, they say stupid things online now, like stoicism, independence, like very generic terms. No one's using these terms in the context that is meant for, okay? So let's be clear. And so a lot of guys who are spilling the rhetoric or are trying to act like they're Trump supporters because they didn't like the alternative, their whole lifestyle is very liberal, and even Trump himself, he's been with multiple women. It's not like he married his high school sweetheart. He had a very dubious past. He's been connected with Jeffrey Epstein. So what is that saying about some people? Like, oh, you can put, whatever two shitty choices or whatever in front of someone, and in their mind, they will groom themselves into thinking, oh, surely one's got to be good. Like, this is a multiple choice question because that's how they, molded your brain in school to think like, oh, it's never none of the above. How come no one chooses that? That was an option back in the day. None of the freaking above. Okay, that's basically what I said in the last election. Okay, and I was doing my research, and I'm not going to talk politics, but I was like, giving the contestants the benefit of the doubt. But the more you see how once they get in the pilot's chair, how they want to fly the plane, so to speak, right into the damn wall, that's pretty much, look at where we at now. Okay. And Martin Luther King Day is coming up soon, and some of his quotes, he was concerned that this country is very morally corrupt, and that's really the problem too. And people allow it. They allow paid performers to dictate their morals, right? So we're going to go on my little journey here because, I can't sit still. This is like definitely, this life is like Mad Max. Don't you feel like if you sit still, you'll just die? It's like, go, go, go. Got to do this. Got to do that. It's been like that. But yeah, the real problem, because I see all these weirdos. Everyone's talking about that weird guy that looks like Santa Claus. I don't like to name drop or whatever, right? Talking about all white women. He looks like a cross between Santa Claus and Mr. Magoo, right? You know, the Antoine Daniels and all that shit, right? Half of these guys already been exposed, so many content creators exposed, that they're very fluid and they have the most to say about whatever because they want to be political. I've seen that too in my hometown, where people, they'll use something that happens to them to try to get themselves into political office. And you can see the narcissism and the godlike complex. It's like, it's so nauseating. They'll name laws after them. Now there's, I see a concerted effort to target certain individuals that speak too much. Now they're manic. Women have always been a target throughout the generations. I mean, Salem, Massachusetts, it's not too far from me. Like, any woman who had too much knowledge or could see through the rhetoric, right, was deemed falsely a witch or whatever, right? And yeah, they want to keep women like stunted and stupid, right, to a point. And even in this day too, like they want a woman in their place where the only form of conservatism that they're looking at is like, yeah, like a dumb mute person, right? Like how it was millennia ago, where if the woman talked back, right, she'd get hit and all of these things, right? So, I mean, where is the balance where it goes to like barbarism, right? To now the equality is so bad that now everyone wants to be unisex. Now you got guys saying, oh, if a woman lives home until she's 20 something, so can a guy. Why is anything a woman is doing, a guy got to compare it? Throughout history, women have had to be sheltered because they were supposed to be protected. Women are not like men. You don't see them in the NFL with the other guys playing freaking football and all of that stuff for an effing reason, right? There's certain roles, right? So it's just common sense, and that's just how God designed it, but not for the man to overtake and to degrade the intelligence of a woman, because where we lack in brute force, we make up in intelligence, okay? Because God doesn't make any mistakes, and he gives us also abilities to even out the leverage. So that's where you get a little bit of the equality. But men throughout history were made to forge a path for themselves in this world, were they not, right? Unless you have a serious handicap, unless something is horrifically wrong with you, right? Children are not meant to be a burden on their family indefinitely, right? They were made to help the family farm and things like that, right? But we've gotten so away from all of that, where people are hooking up willy-nilly. And in some cases, we're not hearing about it, but it's the unheard song, right? It's almost like a dog whistle. It's that chill up your spine. It's the goosebumps you get on your arms, right? It's that creepy feeling that you get and you don't know why. It's because like so much death and evil is going on right below the surface, where it's barely audible, but it's being drowned out by all of the mess and the noise that you hear, right, on the news. And now they're trying to flood YouTube, because YouTube was actually conscious for a little while, and it still is, right? And the good sectors. But it goes to show like that became, I guess, somewhat of a problem, that now, the Jerry Springers and the everything else. And obviously, the spirited women are a problem for certain people, because they find it such a threat that they're going to ignore every dysfunction that their lifestyle brings, right? But they're going to focus on a certain group of people, especially a group of people who have their own challenges. And I think all women as a whole are being targeted, okay? Like, it's just, the ones that, are seeing through the BS and want to make a solid change, right? And, those who are trying to keep the status quo have a problem with that. And you can do it peacefully or respectfully. Everyone has a phone. You can do what I'm doing right now. You can literally just fire up your phone, You're not standing in front of anybody. You're not obstructing anyone. You're not making a whole scene or whatever, right? And you can do it peacefully. And I think there's a lot of crisis actors. I think there's a lot of staged performances on TV. I think a lot of people are paid or they're part of certain groups and then they were told to do certain things, right? So, I mean, there's a whole underbelly, right? And yet they're just looking at it on the surface. Oh, just blame these type of women. But I'm seeing so many men expect women are talking, oh, they want women 50-50 or that can do better. Or even have, some broke as a joke guys talking about they want sugar mamas. I hear all the jokes, there's men all over and they'll candidly, make their comments, just in jest or whatever in small talk. And you just got to sit back and be like, wow, times have really changed where, now they're looking for assistance where years ago they would want to help women or at least be in a position to support women fully. And if you couldn't afford it, you just wouldn't. Not everyone was entitled to relationships and people now are becoming so asexual. A lot of it has to do with their, shitty demeanors and spirit and how they compare themselves. Like, if you've ever raised kids or mentored them and they're always complaining about outside people, it's like, worry about yourself. Stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. And that's the same thing with the people in this country too. It's like, let's worry about our problems and the crimes happening in our different states, especially in the armed forces too, where they should have a higher level, right, of respect and accountability, right? Because they're representing the country. They are, so-called a trustee, right? But when you abuse that power, they should come with like a strict penalty. Maybe that's why they have what's called the brig, which is like a separate jail, whatever. But there's many stories how women are being laced with abortion pills. And yeah, think about that when you got a lot of people trying to push themselves on you or trying to rush you into something that you're not ready to do. And I'm thankful, I guess in my case, guys were begging me damn near to have theirs, and that's still not a good idea either, guys. If it happens, it happens. I never planned it, but I feel like I was, they purposely did that or whatever, and it is what it is. They didn't continue to have any more children after that, so that tells me a lot right there too, that, was I the mark? I guess, maybe. How sad, right? So that's a whole other struggle and other thing too, especially if you felt like you were dealing with an immature person. I would not put that much pressure on yourself, but at the same time be accountable for your actions and just use prevention, ladies. If you're not sure, if you don't have a ring on it, then, and this person's not talking about that, there is no rush. People don't even kiss anymore. People don't even realize that it's like the small, acts of affection. And if someone doesn't even want to at least do that with you and they're trying to, get all nasty or try to rush things, then you need to kick them to the curb because they're obviously trying to ruin your life or trying to make you a notch in their belt. I hear stories. I'm grown, so I know all the different variations of how this could happen. And it happens a lot too with guys in the armed forces. That's why I was always wary of guys that were in the military, because they travel a lot, and unless they're done with it and they're ready to be stable, I'm like, I'm not going to be a stop on your world tour. If somebody would come into town and they're like, I'm in this, and I'm like, okay, buddy, maybe we'll be friendly. If, you can say hi and bye, and that's it. And they didn't want that. I'm like, I knew, because you had bad intentions. Like, what do you think this is, you freaking demon? Demon comes in all forms. They can come in the form of a human as well too, guys, just to waste your time, just to muck up your life, just to give you trauma. but it's showing like more and more that there's so many guys, they don't believe in supporting their women. They're not traditional. My father married my mother at 18 years old. He was married to the same woman until the day he freaking died. Okay, he had a stable work, put a roof over our head. We never needed the government for anything, but yet you got guys now who will be quick to have kids or not get married, and then their kid's mother has to go on assistance and all of this stuff because they're not helping to make ends meet the way they need to. Or some guys are very vindictive. Once they don't have access to sex anymore with the mother, that's when their real mask comes off, and they really try to make the woman suffer in the petty way that they know how and stuff. So that stuff is like really important, guys, to make sure that you're wise in your life, and that you watch if anyone puts anything, be careful not to just drink whatever, or if you're dealing with somebody who's really passive aggressive, who's, said mean things like, get rid of it or things like that. I mean, in the article it said he was calling the baby a thing, and that's a whole other thing that needs to be revisited. We should do a whole maybe health class for these kids and show just because it's a fetus doesn't mean it's not a person. As soon as that stick has the second line, that's a second soul in your body. As soon as that heartbeat goes, you know what I'm trying to say? It's not conceived dead. What does that tell you? People are so devoid from their own common sense. And you have to look at your body like a mini universe, a portal, okay? And like a house even. Would you let anyone just come in? Are you gonna leave your door unlocked? Of course not, okay? What would happen? You gotta look at your body the same way. Because this poor woman, she had her baby terminated, drinking hot chocolate, minding her business, thinking that, okay, they were probably dating. And then all of a sudden, I guess, she had severe pain. She had to be rushed to the hospital, all this stuff. And they ran some tests, and they found this drug in her system. And I know a lot of guys to this day who try to claim they're conservative and everything else, that I saw in person who cheated on their significant others and was trying to access Plan B pills, do all this stuff to try to cover up their tracks. You know what I'm trying to say? And a lot of guys need to come out and say, yes, I am liberal. That is what I am, because my ideologies, if you think it's okay, for a woman to work full time and contribute, fine, just admit and say you're liberal. If you think it's okay to have multiple kids' mothers, you may be a freaking liberal. If you think it's okay for a girl to pay on a date or 50, you are an effing liberal. Okay? Half of the freaking things that some of these guys like to do tell you what it is too. It's very metro. And if you are not with the same woman all your life, definitely not traditional. If you've needed any type of assistance that includes financial aid, grants, whatever, yeah, you're liberal because you took money from the state. I don't care in what form. If it was a student loan, you didn't get it out of pocket. You know what I mean? And any type of assistance, that was from the state. So now the chickens are coming home to roost. So the same ones who claimed they were so conservative were being very liberal with their freaking foolish spending. And I did warn people and said, hey, you can do community college, you can do a trade. You know what I mean? I even told my kids, I love you no matter what. You don't need that as a status thing. If that's what you want to do, fine. But you know what I mean? Just know what it is, that by the time you're done, the whole industry could change or whatever. So don't make it so hard for yourself unless, obviously they went into STEM fields. So very good. But yeah, unless, you paid it all out of pocket, you know what I mean? So the words now, it's people use the same words, but they change the definition over the years. I'm noticing that's what's happened. The whole definition has been changed. It's, now they put whatever they want now. and it's not the original. And there's a lot of guys who push a lot of the liberal stuff that they preach online that they're against, but they'll do it in secret. And God is a revealer of secrets. He don't care about the fake image that you put out into the public. He sees your worldview, okay? And guys back in the day who were like so traditional, so this, their women were, you know, housemakers or whatever. They made sure they made enough, and people are like, oh, the world changed, this and that, the economy. If you keep having that attitude, you're going to turn yourself into a transgender. Okay, that's popular now. I'm not going to go do stupid shit. My values are going to stay the same no matter what. Okay, so if you were raised a certain way, you should have that. And hey, if you made some mistakes because you were modernized by this culture, it's okay to admit that and turn the course. It's nobody's fault. Everyone envisioned a certain picture perfect scenario, okay? And then, you know, things do happen, and that doesn't mean, oh, it's on the woman's fault. There's a lot of men who, you know, will impregnate women. They will date them for many, many years, take too long to propose, you know, use the expectation, you know, the future faking and all of that stuff. And yeah, that can happen many different ways, or they can become abusive as well too. A lot of guys don't see that. And there's a lot of women and women that I know, and even in my situation, that we have stories that we did have to protect ourselves against, you know, would be violence, even while pregnant, because, you know, men want to act really foolish and wild and stupid. So some of the stuff that they would do would be very idiotic, very immature, not very conservative at all, or want to party, or, you know, want to still be out. And sometimes I tell women too, that's why I'm as tough as I am now. And you don't give any jerk no attention, no nothing, okay? You give him nothing but dust unless he gives you respect, and he's willing to, you know, you can feel safe around this person to let your guard down, because you don't owe anybody any trust right away, because they can take that and misuse it so fast, okay? And you could do that maybe when you're young, and then you're going to find the hard way how real it can get with the wrong person. Giving your trust to the wrong person is one of the worst things that can happen to people. And in this story especially. And there's a lot of men who are apparently lacing women's drinks, knocking them up, doing the most, not caring, you know, and blaming the women for their actions, okay? I'm sorry. If you are put in a position where you are to be responsible for your private part, if you have a gun, look at your private part as a gun. Okay, are you licensed to use that thing willy-nilly? Now, it's your problem where those bullets go. When you let them out that chamber and it goes where it goes and does what it does, it's nobody's fault but your own. Okay, you're the one that fired it off. Okay, you didn't have to fire it off how you did it. Okay, you wanted to. For whatever reason, a lot of guys are mad because they tried to lock women down with unplanned pregnancies, and they didn't want to change their controlling abusive behavior. And they thought, oh, the woman was going to feel stuck and weak and she was just going to ride the wave, right? Straight to hell. Well, women were like, hell no. Okay. You're the only, you can go to hell by yourself, and I'm going to press the freaking reset button. Okay. And, I'm going to do what I need to do, right? And make you regret you ever met me, if that's the case, if you thought you were just going to play with people's lives. Because not only are you playing with the person's life, you're playing with the life of your own bloodline. Okay, just like in this story, who pays the price? The poor unborn child who's being poisoned by those pills. They have to pay for the sins of their parents, and that's sad. Okay, your kids shouldn't have to pay for your sins, but that's what people do. And when they do it from the inception and clean it up nicey nice, then to the world, they look like they're such pious and conservative people, right? When they end up actually marrying someone they actually like and try to create a family, you don't think all those ghost babies and spiritual trauma is not going to like haunt people? Of course it does. And that's why there's just such an overcast over this world. Okay. And a lot of it is more depopulation agenda, it sounds like, because a lot of these so-called conservative guys, oh, I'm against abortion, they're against healthy relationships too. They spend too much time trying to vilify women because they want to be women, or they have some type of alternative motive, okay, to actually live out the so-called conservative values that they talk about. These are stupid perpetual babies, perpetual little boys who want to be bachelors indefinitely, okay? And it's just all a con, okay? Again, it's just nothing. It's just like a freaking football team. Could be on there and one person be straight, another one be this, another one be that, whatever. So I don't look at anyone like, oh, that's some type of like cool varsity letter if you call yourself Republican or this. Don't think that, you know, that's doing anything, because a lot of times it's the actions, right? It's the actions that you're supposed to have to back it up. But guys, look up the story. I'm going to let you guys go. I'll try to do a video another time when I can. And yeah, do your own research. This stuff is really, really deep. It's no joke, guys. It's not to be played with. There are guys that are spiking women's drinks, and in Texas, a Marine did that to a woman, killing his own child to try to hide his sins. Isn't that nice, guys, right? Yeah, very conservative indeed, right? But when you think that you're hiding your sins and you try to start over, you know, there is a God looking down, and that doesn't mean that it didn't happen and that all of a sudden you can change your stripes, right? So just be careful. We'll continue this another time. Until next time, guys, stay well.